Welcome to South Austin Popular Culture Center and Lindsey Kuhn's Screen and Destroy Silk Screen exhibition. Tell me, how did your exhibition here at South Austin Popular Culture Center come about?
I actually was doing a flat stock show a couple years ago when the center was just opening, and I met Leah, and she told me about the Pop Culture Center and asked if I would do a show at some point, and I said sure, anytime. And when my book came out, actually, that's when we started talking about it more seriously, and then finally she picked a date, came on down for it.
You started doing posters in 1991 and moved to Austin in 1994, where you became one of the most prolific poster artists for the clubs in Austin. What initially brought you to Austin?
Actually, I came a little bit earlier, but I actually moved here in 1990, and then I started going to shows, a lot of shows, and started seeing all the cool handbills, the flyers everywhere, the photocopied stuff. I moved from Alabama. I was going to school in Mobile, Alabama at USA, and I hated it. So I was going to move to Dallas, and for some reason I just decided to come to Austin first. I moved, my aunt and uncle invited me to stay with them for a little while to get settled, and yeah, I got here, started going to lots of shows, got my own place, and loved it. Loved the scene, loved the attitude, and eventually I started working at Bebop Screen Shop, printing shirts, doing screen shirts, which is what I've been doing. That's what I was doing in my garage for years in high school and college. And when I started working at Bebop, they needed a flat printer. No one wanted to do it, so I started flat printing there. We were printing like grocery store signs and stuff like that, real simple stuff. Maybe an Austin Chronicle Awards poster or something like that. We weren't really doing a lot of art, it was more commercial work. But then I was at the Palmer Auditorium, the record show there, and met Debbie Jacobson, who had a rock poster booth, and I thought those were really cool. I'd never really seen a lot of them. I mean, I'd seen them before, but not like that many of them in one place. Started talking with her, and she needed a screen printer, so basically she had just bought this guy named Frank Kozik Press and needed someone to help him print, and I got hired, and didn't know who Frank was because he was the guy who did the Buttle Surfers art, which I was familiar with that. I didn't really know the artist, I just knew the Buttle Surfers stuff and always loved it. And basically I said, yeah, I'll take the job, I can flat print, and started printing his stuff. And within probably 2 months, after getting to know Frank, and he started seeing what I had been doing in the past and was like, you need to start printing stuff. He's like, you can use the press. As long as my stuff's done first, you can do whatever you want.
You were frequently used by emos and commissioned to do a lot of their gig posters because of that. Your art has also been kind of thought of as being irreverent and politically direct.
Yeah, I guess politically direct, yeah. That's probably how I am. I just kind of say how I feel, hopefully not getting in too much trouble. I was always never a big Bush fan, and I think that's probably where a lot of that comes from, especially even when he was governor here. And then, of course, when he was running for president, I was always making anti-Bush posters and putting statements in rock posters also. There's concerts called Rock Against Bush, so I was doing stuff for them, posters, and that was all over the country. They were doing shows in California and everywhere. But I mean, it's just, I guess it's a punk attitude that I grew up with, and that's just how I do it.
Mm-hmm. Once you start looking at especially the gig posters, it seems like the headliner, you took the name of the headliner and incorporated it some way into the art.
What I was trying to do is get away from my posters looking like Frank's, because at that time I really couldn't draw. I always did my art with collage and So basically I was trying to make it look different. And the things that Frank's posters were always an image with the text on top and bottom or on the sides. It was always block image, you know, black, and you know, it was black and colored lettering. So basically I started trying to put the band names, put them into the design. And I think that's where I started getting my own style. Was it wasn't like, I mean, I used to do stuff with just blocks above and below, but they looked like Kozak posters because they were fluorescent. So everyone's like, oh, those are Kozak posters. It's like, no, they're Kuhn posters. We gotta, you know, I gotta start doing my own thing. So that's kind of what I started trying to do. That was one of the first things that I saw that nobody was doing, because Taz in California was a poster group, and they were doing the same thing. It was block lettering on top and bottom of the design. So I really thought the lettering should actually be part of the imagery.
Mm-hmm. And you've gone on from the gig posters into doing just purely pop art.
Yeah, the art prints. A lot of times I would tape off the words on prints while I was printing it, and do just a few prints with no words on it, or try to get the words out. And that's like on a lot of the posters I could do that. I would stop, clean the screen, tape off the words on the black. Well, this one would have to be black and red. So I actually do have some old prints that are, it's just
the print.
Yeah, it's just the prints. And people started liking those, especially because there's usually only like maybe 5 or 10 of them. And
I think the example is the clown. There's one right there.
Well, that's the thing. I started doing that, taping it off. Then I started thinking about, well, what happens if the text was a totally different screen anyway? So like even on this one, there's also, that's the art print of the Jane's Addiction poster in Fair Park in Dallas, and that one was actually, I think that was 6 or 7 colors, and then there was 2 more colors for the words. There was 2 more screens for the words. It was like a light colored orange and then another black. So when I did that, people didn't even understand how I did it, because the black was underneath and on top of the orange. So everyone, it just started, that kind of changed everything more. It's like a transparent lettering. So it actually gave another level to the poster, and I actually do that quite a bit. But that was the first one it was that one, and then there was a clutch one for a show in Ohio, and I actually used the transparent lettering in two black screens, which changed everything. But also, I had, I could make 25 art prints of the same design. Mm-hmm. And so it started changing stuff to start putting things in galleries.
Your posters really do have a depth. Talk a little bit about the inks.
The inks that I use, I've always used the TW water-based series inks. Right now I'm using the 5000 series, and they were one of the first water-based inks that actually, once you learn how to use them, because they're a bit tricky. A lot of people say they can't use them properly. It's just, once you start working with them, you have to work fast, and you can't stop. There's no stopping. Yeah, it was one of the best series. They've used oil-based inks, different enamels. I mean, I've printed everything from wood to metal, and you got to use different inks. But for paper, I think the water-based inks are the best, and I still have most of my brain cells from not using enamel ink, so it helps as I get older too. But the water-based inks, I mix my own fluorescents. I use the pigments and try to make them as strong as possible. Basically, I've always liked the brightly colored fluorescents. I mean, I grew up on it in the 70s. Had the room with the black lights and flocked posters, all the psychedelic posters, and that's why, and I still like those kind of posters, but it's also the bright colored posters stand out a lot more. Nowadays, in the past, I don't know, five or 10 years, it seems like everyone's going to nicer colors or more muted colors, or what I like to call kitchen colors. It's good, but I mean, these are gig posters or rock posters, whatever you want to call them, and they need to stand out. So if you have a wall of, kitchen colors, and there's a Dayglow poster right in the middle of it, that Dayglow poster, you're going to look at that one first. So that, and to me, that's what a rock poster is you're trying to get someone's attention to read the information that's on that poster.
How has that technology changed the way that you create your art?
Computers have changed everything. They used to, used to come up with your black line and then get a film of it. You'd have to bring it into a film place and they would shoot a positive at whatever, usually my old original posters were normally about 11 by 17 in that area. Bring it in, shoot it at 200, 250%. You get that positive back and you put it on a light table and you hand cut amberliths. So for every color on the poster is a different amberlith that you had to cut. When computers came around, and I was totally against them for a long time, but then with text and stuff, I've always used them for text, or a friend usually printed, like in the old posters, someone else did the text. I'd send him a drawing of what I needed and where I wanted it and what style of font, and he would send it back to me, and then I'd collage it in with the image. And then once I learned how to use a computer, I started trying to mimic what I did with amberlith, and actually a lot of times I would still cut amberlith, but then there might be one or two background layers that were done on a computer, because the one thing about computers is you could do halftones of photos or it was, because before, like on this one, I would have to cut it with amberlith, and then I would take a piece of clear acetate and I would have to get a positive of this background. Then you have to cut it out. You'd have to cut the actual positives around the images and everything. With computers, you could do that on the computer. And it always took me forever because the computers weren't actually strong enough to do full-size posters like that. Nowadays, you can do massive files with 60 layers, because most of my files have lots of intricate detail, and I get them down to like between 3 and 6 layers before they're actually output. And the other reason why I started using more computers is the positives that you would get. No one use them anymore, so they started becoming like $100 for one positive. So by the time you did a dozen posters and you had to print out, the amberlith went up, the positives were thousands of dollars a year. So it kind of made sense that you could just do it on a computer. And I still hand cut certain layers just because I like to hand cut the layers. It's the way I learned, and that's the way I like to do it. But now to do films, it's just so much cheaper. And with how many posters there are out there, the pricing, all that's gone down. It's kind of overkill almost these days because there's so many artists. When I started, there was probably, there was maybe 7 or 8 of us, and that was probably by like '93, and then by the 98, 99, there's hundreds and hundreds. Now there's thousands of people around the world that actually do gig posters.
Where do you find your art's going to take you? What's your next?
I really have no idea where it's going to take me. I think I'm hoping that I can keep doing it. I've done big canvases, I've done paintings, and I like doing the paintings, but I also like doing screen printing on canvases. I am currently setting up the new studio, and that's one of the things. I'm building an area that I can easily do that. And it's kind of like freestyle printing. You just use screens almost as brushes, so you can, you're painting, but you actually can use the screens and do backgrounds and just, it looks like a silk screen, and trying to just kind of create my own style with that, or take my poster style and doing it on, big 10-foot canvases. And that's where I'd like to go in the next few years. I've done some, and people have dug them, and I just need to start doing a lot more. It's just, I also have to pay bills, so you got to do what you got to do. I'm working with, I do conspiracy skateboards, and then I also do swamp, and I'm all my own mail order. I do I've always done my own distribution and all my own printing and stuff. So I want to keep doing more art prints. I want to do some rock posters, not as much as I've done in the past, but for certain shows and certain places, yeah, I definitely want to keep doing it.
Yeah, it has a vibrance to it that keeps you connected with the music.
Yeah, definitely, and that's the thing. I've always loved music, and that's music is like steered me through life. So basically, doing rock posters, I never really played in a band. I did in high school the punk garage band for a little while, but I was a skater. Never wanted to practice because I was always skating, and this is a way that I can kind of work in the music industry without actually playing.
Well, it's a great display of an incredible period, of artwork, and hope everyone gets an opportunity to come out to the South Austin Popular Culture Center and inspect it, buy something.
There you go. Exactly.
They're for sale, so come on out and fill up your game rooms or your music rooms.
There you go.
It's really cool.
Cool rooms.
Thanks a lot, Lindsey.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Cool.